Hello. So this is the DePaul Web Development Club. This is our fifth workshop, and this workshop is gonna be about database design and also integrating it with a backend. So go on the slideshow view. So what is a database? By definition, it's an organized collection of data that can be easily accessed and managed. And then why do we need it? For persistent data, handle multiple users, query efficiently. And then just some examples: user accounts, social media posts, e-commerce orders. Then there's two types of databases. There's relational and then non-relational. So relational is just structured data in tables with relationships. So like PostgreSQL, MySQL. And then there's non-relational, which is NoSQL. It's flexible, document-based. Think of like MongoDB and Firebase. Uh, Today's focus is going to be on PostgreSQL, which is a relational database. Main reason I chose this is because relational databases tend to be used more in production. Like, if you go onto the real world, something like PostgreSQL, MySQL, SQLite, that stuff is used way more at big tech companies as opposed to MongoDB and Firebase. So I feel like it's more appropriate to talk about that. And then just the basic building blocks of a database. There's tables, rows, and columns. So table is just like think of like a spreadsheet. It just holds related data. Rows are individual records. Columns are attributes of those records. And then ideally, this is optional, but ideally you have a visual diagram showing a simple user table. So like something to visualize the data with. Because if you can't visualize your data, there's no point in having it. So then for today's project, we're going to be creating a blog system. So we're building a database for a simple blog, 3 main entities, so 3 tables. Going to be users, posts, and comments. And then we're also going to try and create an entity relationship diagram showing the relationships of these 3 tables. So in a database, there are primary keys in each table, which are a unique identifier for each row. And it's usually just an auto-incrementing integer. So for example, think of like an ID. The first user in a table, the ID is 1. The third ID of the third user could be the number 3, something like that. Very basic. Then also foreign keys and relationships. So this is how you link tables together. So for example, you can have a user underscore ID column in post table referencing IDs in user tables. So this creates a one-to-many relationship, meaning one user can have many posts. And then our specific schema design is going to be it's going to have 3 tables: users, posts, and comments. Users will have an ID, a username, email, and the created at, which means we will have an ID for every username. We'll have a name for them. We'll have the email that they're associated with. And then the created underscore at is just when was the account made. So then posts is very similar, has an ID. It has a user ID that helps us track what post was made by what user, a title of the post, the content of the post, and then when was the post created. Then there are also comments under the post. So there's an ID to each comment, the post ID with the user ID. So we can look at the post ID of a comment to look at what comment was the post, what comment is this post under. So then there's also a user ID, what user left the comment. There's also content of the comments, and then the created at, which is when was the comment made. So now for some basic, just a live coding. These are the steps. Open the terminal, connect to PostgreSQL, and then we're going to create a database. When you start doing this, you're just going to have a bare bones, absolutely nothing. We have to connect to the PostgreSQL server, so you just type this. You're going to have to type in a password. And then you're going to have to create your database. So create database blog underscore workshop. Like that. And then you're going to have to connect to it. So C blog underscore workshop. Perfect. So now there's 2 main ways that you can really create a table. There's probably more, but the 2 main ways is you type into the CLI. So you just do create table users, and then you start typing whatever you want. The other way, which is what we're going to do now, is just create a schema.sql file, and then just start typing everything in here. So just starting off from absolutely nothing. We're going to create the tables that we need to, top to bottom. So first it's going to be users, then it's going to be posts, then it's going to be the actual comments. And we're going to know what to do because we already laid out what the tables are going to be. Yeah, here. So, I mean, you can just take this and copy and paste it and tweak it a bit. Okay, so now let's actually create this. So create table users ID. It's going to be a serial ID, and it's going to be our primary key in this table. Then we're going to create a username, which is going to be 50 characters in length. So varchar 50 can be null and it has to be unique. Then an email is just the same thing, except it's varchar 100, not null and unique. And then created underscore at is going to be a timestamp. The default value is going to be the current timestamp. Okay. So now we're going to do create table posts. It's honestly going to be similar. We're just going to take this, copy it. Okay. And then we're going to take this ID in the users table and take it over to the post table. So we're going to do user underscore ID. We're going to make this integer references. And it's going to reference the user's ID. On delete cascade. And then the title of the post, so it's going to be varchar 200, not null. And then content is going to be text, not null. And then created underscore at timestamp default current underscore timestamp. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to create the comments now. So ID, serial, primary key. And then now we need to create a post ID and a user ID, and they're both going to reference these tables. So we're just going to create post underscore ID integer references posts ID on delete cascade. I'm just going to copy this down. User ID is going to reference the users table. Then we're going to create the content, which is just text, not null. And then create underscore at is going to be timestamp default current timestamp. Okay, perfect. So now we're just going to delete this up above. And then to actually execute this into the terminal, we just do there's a syntax error. Oh, I forgot to add the semicolons. Perfect. And then to actually see that you know that these are made properly, you just type /dt. Alright, perfect. So now, let's go back to the workshop. So yeah, we did some basic CRUD operations. We mostly just created, but now we need to do the read, update, and delete. So first stop is the read. So we're gonna just showcase some basic select queries, but we can't really do select because we don't have anything in here. So we're just going to create some basic create stuff. Let me see. First, we'll just insert stuff, and then we're going to read it. So what should we make? I guess let's just insert some users first. So users insertion.sql. So this is going to have insert into users, username, email. The values are going to be Alice underscore dev, Alice at example.com. Then we're gonna, I guess another one that we can do, just copy this down. Bob underscore codes, and then Bob at example.com. So now we get to run this again. So let's do users.insertion. Perfect. Okay, nothing broke, thank God. So now let's just write it from the terminal now. Select star from users. What this does, this is going to select every single column, every single row from the users table. Perfect. And as you can see, because we did not provide a created at, it used the default value. The default value is the current timestamp. So that's why the timestamp in here is just what the time is right now. And we got the username, we got the email, we got the created at, and that's because that's all, those are all the IDs, or those are all the columns we have. ID, username, email, created at, those are the 4 columns. These are the 2 rows that we added, so that's why that's the only thing you see. So now let's just do the same exact thing, but for posts. So let's do a, let's see here. So now we're gonna just do the same thing, but we're gonna do posts, and we're not gonna try and do too much. I really don't want to make this too long. I'm just gonna copy this. So now when we're looking at this, we should actually look to see what is our data table. What do we need to do? So posts has an ID, a user ID, a title, content, and created at. So we really only need to do 3 things. All we need to do is reference a user ID, reference a title, and a content. We can skip this first ID. So let's create a post where Alice said something. So as we can see here, Alice is user ID 1. So let's do values 1. My first post, learning post, SQL is fun. Okay, and then let's just copy these over. So let's have her say another post. The second post is going to be database design tips. Always normalize your data. And then now we're going to have Bob say something. So the ID is going to be 2. And this is going to be, let's just do hello world. And then this is Bob's, Bob first post. Okay, so now let's just run this again. What's the error? Oh, I just realized I misspelled this. This is cotnet. Okay, let's just rename this then. I'm not gonna go through a whole database change just for that. Okay, cool. So now let's do select star from posts. As we can see here, this is the ID of the post, which is 1, 2, 3. This is the user ID. This is how we track what post belongs to what user. So we can see the first 2 posts belong to the user ID of 1. If we do the select from users, Alice has the ID of 1, so Alice has these first 2 posts. Okay, and then let's just do the same thing, but let's do all the comments. So posts, comments. Okay, let's copy this first part. See if we actually have the typo in here too. No, it's just content. Okay, so now we're going to insert into comments. And for comments, we're going to need three things again, which is going to be post ID, a user ID, and content. So now what we're going to do, we're going to do values. So now we need to specify the post ID. So let's just add a post to the first post, which is this one. So we can see the ID is 1. So to do values in the first post. And then let's make it, it'd be weird if Alice added a comment to her own post. So let's do from Bob. So the second parameter is going to be the user ID. And we know from here the user ID of Bob is 2. So we do 2. And then we're going to make the comment just say, great post, Alice. Okay, let's copy this. And then values. So now, let's say, theoretically speaking, Alice said thank you to Bob. So we do first post again. Now I have to reference Alice, which is the first user ID. And then we're going to do thanks, Bob. Okay, so now let's run this. Perfect. Then we now have to look at this. So we're going to do our select query again. Select query from comments. Perfect. That is exactly what we want to see. Okay. So now, let's say looking at this, you're like, I don't want to see everything on here. Typically when people in the real world, when you do like a select from this, you don't really care about these IDs. So let's take posts for example. So select star from posts. Is there a typo in there? Oh, forgot to do a comma. Okay, there. Or a semicolon on that. So let's say we only want to get the title and the content, which is kind of like the bread and butter of this whole thing. So we just do select title content from posts. Oh, I forgot since I had a typo. Okay, perfect. Got the title, we got the content, and then let's say we want to get all the posts that are related to a specific user. So we could do select title content from posts where the user ID, let's just do it from where Alice is. So user ID equals 1. Perfect. We can see there's 2 rows, 2 posts made by Alice. Another thing we can do is we can order the posts by date. So let's do select star from posts order by rated underscore at and then descending order. So now we can see the latest post is now at the top, and you know that by the blog ID, or sorry, the posts ID. We can see 3, 2, and then 1, and then we could also do it the opposite order, ascending order, and you would get it in reverse. So now at the top is the first post made, and the bottom is the last post made. So now let's actually try and join these tables. So we've made it very, very simple. Looking at the schema, how would we join this? Our only join is an ID. We have an ID in every single table. So joining these tables is super easy. So let's do what do I name this? Let's just make it very verbose so we understand what we're doing. So we're going to join posts to users.sql, and we're going to do select, and then we're going to do posts.id. And what I'm doing right here with period is I'm defining what table am I grabbing and then what column. So posts.id means I'm going into the post table and I'm grabbing the ID. So now let's just make this a bit simpler. We're going to grab the title. Gotta make sure I misspell it again. And then actually, let's flip this. Let's do the users. Okay. And then the username. So then let's just look back at this. Okay. So we got the ID, username, and then we don't really need the created at. I guess I'm just thinking of how to do this. Actually, wait. No, we should be doing posts. Whoops. Posts.id. That's my fault. I got a bit confused there. Okay. This is what we wanted to do. And then we're going to do this from posts join users on posts.userid equals users.id. Okay, so now let's run this. Join posts to users.sql. Oh, it's not a name, it's a username. Perfect. So now we can see all the posts by the username. So we can see first post, my first post, learning PostgreSQL is fun. We know that's made by Alice. I mean, we know that the second post is made by Alice and the third post is made by Bob. So now that we can connect each post to a user, let's connect all the users to a comment that they wrote. So we're going to join comments to users.sql. So select comments.content, users.username, and then comments.created_at. From the comments, we want to join users on comments.userid equals users.id. And then, yeah, let's just run this for now. So join comments to users.sql. So you can see, just looking at this, we could see these are all the comments and who they were made by. So we could see Bob left a comment saying great post, Alice, made by Bob. This comment thinks Bob was made by Alice. And then we could also filter this to look at a specific person. So let's do where users.username equals Alice_dev. So we can see now where we're looking only at Alice's comments. Another operation we can do is let's just count all the posts per user. So since we're looking at posts and since we're looking at users, we need to just copy this query. So let's copy this, let's make a new file. Count posts per user.sql. And then we don't need most of this, we just really need the username. And then what you can do is count posts.id as post_count. Let's go from the users, join to the posts on users.id equals the posts. And then let's group by the username, so users.username. And then also looking at this specifically, what we're doing here is we want to be using a left join. And that is because there's a one-to-many relationship here. A User can have multiple posts. So we have to do a left join. So left I, and then count posts per user that's equal. Perfect. So now we can see Bob has 1 post, Alice has 2 posts. So let's go back to just our workshop. Let's just look to see what we've done. We've done creating and reading, but now we need to get into the update and delete. So it's time to show update and delete queries. Let's just make sure we're at the right spot. Yes, we are. Perfect. Now we just need to make the updating and deleting queries. So let's just do a basic one. Let's do update post title. Okay, so update posts set title equals my updated first post. And then this is very specific what you need to do here. If you were to run this right now, that would change all of the posts to have this title. So let's do select star from posts. Oh, I forgot, you gotta add the semicolon. Okay, so if you were to run this right now, all 3 of these titles would get changed to this title. So we need to be specific. So we gotta do then where the ID equals 1. So what that means is it's gonna change ID equals 1, my first post, it's gonna say my updated first post. So let's run this. Update post. I also mistyped this. Updated 1 row, perfect. Okay, perfect. So now, as you can see, the ID equals 1, and it says my updated first post. Earlier, ID was 1, my first post. Now it says my updated first post. So, perfect. And then if we want to be more specific, we could also do select from posts where ID equals 1. As you can see, my updated first post. Okay, and then for the delete, it's really easy. I'm just gonna do it in the terminal to save some time. So we're just gonna delete a comment. Delete from comments where ID equals 2. So what this does is this is gonna delete every single comment where the ID of the comment equals 2. So for right now, actually, before we even run this, let's just see what's in the comments. So select comments. So now delete from comments. Oops, not supposed to be all caps. Where ID equals 2. So now looking at this, the ID is 2, and it's Alice saying thanks, Bob. So now let's delete this. Let's run this again. Now it's not here. Very, very, very simple. So now, you know, we've done all the basic CRUD operations. We did create, read, update, delete. We've joined to tables. We've done everything that we wanted to do. Well, mostly everything. So now, let's actually, integrate this into a backend. So we're going to connect our backend to our database. And for this, it's going to be really simple. We're just going to use Node.js and Express.js. And we're going to use the PostgreSQL library for the connection. And then we're going to make sure to add the database connection string to our environment. In a live production setting, most companies don't really use Node.js and Express for like live production because the problem with these backend services is they crumble a lot under a ton of requests. So like these aren't used too much in production, but it's still very helpful to learn because once you learn how to use Node and Express, you can easily learn Spring Boot or Scala or whatever you want to learn. So first thing we got to do is we have to quit the database. So \q. So now we've quit it. And then we're just going to create the actual directory for this. So blog-api, cd into that. and then npm initialize yes. So hopefully this doesn't take too long. Just gotta make sure I'm still recording. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So now npm install express, postgres, and .env. Okay, perfect. So now let's actually just do, actually we don't need to open it because it's right here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually just create two files. We're going to create a server.js, and then we're going to create a .env. So now server.js is just going to be all of our middleware. That's how we're going to do everything. For the .env, I'm going to create, I'm not going to fully show this because you shouldn't, but this is going to be the name of my variable. So all you need to know is the name of my variable is going to be database underscore URL. So, and then I'm also going to specify a port for security reasons, port 3000. So this is all you need to know. These are the two variables. I'm going to cut the recording. I'm going to add this database URL, and then I'm going to click off of it, and I'm going to progress with the rest of this. Okay, so now that I've created those two variables, I'm not going to open up that file anymore. If you ever forget, just make sure that you created your own. And if you want to know how to create the environment variables, I would really just look it up. It's not a good idea to showcase that live anywhere on the internet. So we're going to just start writing the middleware and the actual query, the database connection. So first what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to pull in the .env. So we have to load this in. So .env.config. And then we're going to create the express app. So const express equals require express and const. Now we're going to pull in the PostgreSQL library. Specifically, the pretty much only thing you really need from the PostgreSQL library is the pool object. So pool equals require from the PostgreSQL library. Then const app equals express. And then const port equals process.env.port post. So what this is doing is this is pulling in the port from my environment variable. This has to be lowercase. Make sure I spelled that right. Okay, perfect. So now const pool equals new pool. This is how you initialize objects in pretty much most languages. Connection string process.env.database underscore URL. So again, you should really have this already in your .env file. If you don't, this will just break. So then pool.query, and now we're gonna write our select query. So let's just do something really basic. Let's do select now. And there's two things that we're gonna have this query respond to us with. It's going to be the error message and then the response. So arrowhead function, and then let's go inside of this now. So now if we get an error for whatever reason, we shouldn't, but if we do, console.error database connection error. Okay. Else, if it works, great. Let's just do console.log database connected oops, I forgot. Yeah, okay. Response rows 0. Okay. App.use express.json, and then app.listen port console.log. Oh, I also just realized I did not do this right. I have to do a tilde, not an equals, not a double quote. Okay, perfect. So that's the very, as much as we just had it right, this is like the lowest you could do. So let's do node.server.js. Let's hit allow. Okay, perfect. Server running on port 3000. Our database is now connected. And this is where the now came in. Select now. Now. This is what this is doing. This is what we returned. We returned what's the current time, just to make sure that that this is actually running. So now let's go back to our workshop. So now we've done all of this. We created a basic Node app with Express. We set up the connection that we wanted. So now just a blank slide. Set up Express. Quickly setting up Express in a live coding session. This is done. We created our database connection. Yep, we created the server.js and we tested it by running Node. Okay, so now this is the next part, is we have to go to create API endpoints to connect our backend to the client. So now let's try and let's not really overcomplicate this, but in between here, let's create our endpoints. So as we know, because we were using Express, we created the app here. So now we have to mimic the CRUD options by doing like an app.get, app.post, stuff like that. So to do that, so let's do app.get. Oh yeah, okay. I should also say, make sure to type this app, whatever CRUD operations you're going to do that before the listen, but do it after the .use. So app.get, let's do /API/posts. We haven't made this yet, but just make sure that you follow along, because this will be explained later on. So async, request, and a response. And then we have to do a try. You should really always do try whenever you're doing any sort of API request, because in case it fails, it doesn't break. So catch error. Okay, perfect. This is just going to be our basic setup. So try const result equals a weight the pool dot query. And then we're going to do a raw string literal, which is just where you do a tilde, but inside this tilde, it creates what's called a string literal, meaning you can have multiple lines in it. Oh, I forgot, not a period. Okay, so now let's just hit enter a couple times. Okay. Select posts.id, posts.title, post. Gotta purposely misspell this now. I'm just too lazy to change this. It's probably a lot easier, but I don't really feel like it. Content posts.created _at users.username from posts, and then we're going to join the users on the user's ID. Yeah. Perfect. And then we're also going to order this so that's easier to read. So posts.created _at descending order. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to do this is going to be our response. So this res is going to be returning this. So now we have to parse through this. So we're going to do res.json result.rows. Perfect. And then that's pretty much all for this. Now we just have to write a proper try-catch statement. So console.error, cancel. Make sure I'm still running. Hopefully it didn't shut it down. It did not. Console.error, error. And then now, earlier when we wrote this, we just did a console log. But now, since we're actually trying to query a database, it's very important that you return the proper status codes. So if this fails, this will be a 500 error. So to do res.status 500.json, and then let's do error, database error. Perfect. Okay, now let's just pretty much replicate this, but kind of flip it around. This is getting you your posts by the username, but now let's get the comments, or sorry, let's get the actual content of a post. So we're just going to replicate this, but now instead of actually going to the posts page, we're going to go to a specific ID of a page. So :ID. So now it's going to be very similar. Let's just do const post ID equals request.params.id. And so what this does is request is going to be what are we sending to the API. So what we're sending to the API is the parameters. So this. So now it's saying, okay, let's grab the ID because we know that this ID is going to be the ID of each post. So as we looked at earlier, the first post was made by Alice, the second post was made by Bob. If we go to this URL, API posts /1, this is going to bring up Alice's post. If we do API/post/2, it's going to bring up Alice's post again, and then the third post is from Bob. So that's what this does. This is how we're getting the actual ID of a post. So now post result equals await pool query, and then instead of this, let's just grab everything from the post because getting the created at and everything like that is really important. So posts dot star and then users dot username. Okay, and then from posts join users on post dot user ID were posts. Okay, this looks good. Let's just remove this because if we're going to a specific post, having the content ordered is kind of pointless. So now what we have to do is, this is kind of how you prevent SQL injections, because now we're going to a specific piece of content. Maybe we don't want people to access this. So let's add this post ID to this actual query, which you do like this, comma, okay. And then you do where posts.id equals 1. So now what this is saying is we're only going to look at posts where the ID equals this post ID, which we get from the URL. Okay. So now there's a bit more we have to look at now. It's not as simple as just like grabbing the post that we're looking at, because now we're trusting user input. Okay. For this first one, when we go to API/posts, that's it. You just go to the post page and you look at the posts. But now our URLs are dynamic. What if the user enters in like this? Well, now it's like this won't work. Or what if they enter like a negative number? So let's just for now really basically do some basic sanity checks. We're just gonna do one. If post result dot rows dot length equals 0, return dot res. And so now if the length is 0, meaning they just didn't add anything, Now this is no longer a database issue, this is a client side issue. So now we have to throw a 400 error. So status 404.json error post not found, try a different post. Okay, so now, and again, I talked about this earlier, this is going to be the entire content of a post. So just looking at this isn't enough. So let's create a second const variable where we get the comment. So const comments result equals await pool dot query we're going to do select comments.content comments.created underscore at and then users.username, and then we're going to grab this from comments join users on comments.user id equals users.id, and then we're only going to grab we're going to do the same thing as we did up here, where we're only going to grab this. So we're going to do a where, but instead of looking at the posts table, we're going to look at the comments table. So we're going to do where comments.post underscore id equals 1, and then, like most comment sections, they're ordered by the date. Not always, but usually comments.created underscore at ascending, and then we need to add this as well. Okay, and then let's also move this down, even though those look a bit weird. It's whatever. So now we need to actually like combine this together. So let's do, actually we already have this basic layout. So response.json. So now we need to combine two things to this. So we're gonna actually have to change this. So let's do enter a list of items. So post result dot rows. Since we're only returning one post at a time, we should do rows 0, the first index of a post, and then comment result dot rows, meaning we are going to return all the comments of a post. So the response.json, this is going to return a post. We're looking at the first post because we're only putting in one ID, and then the comments is going to return all the comments of that post. That's how this reads. Okay, and then the catch, yeah, database error. Okay, so now the final one we're gonna do is we're gonna do the post. We're gonna do the post, so app.post /API /posts async await, or await is later on, request response. We're going to do our try catch statement again, so try, which is, I like doing this now so I don't have to look at the error. And then again, if there's an error at the API request, that's a 500 error because it's the database's fault. Oh, I did a backwards curly bracket. Oh. Okay, perfect. So, whenever we go to post, let's just think about this. What do we need to make a post? Well, we actually did this already. So, where was it? Posts insertion. So, what do we need? We need a user ID, we need the title of the post, and then we need the content of a post. So, very simply, let's just replicate that. So, const, let's declare everything. We're going to add a user ID, we're going to add a title, and we're going to add a content. Equals, and this is going to equal the response body, or the request body. So now const result equals await pool.query. Now, if you remember, we had a const post ID and we put it to here. We need to do the same thing for here as well. So underneath here, comma, let's do user underscore ID, a title, and content. Okay, so now we're going to do insert into posts user underscore ID title content, or I guess I have to type this out weirdly. Let's just change it here as well just so we don't get confused. And then we have to reference these variables using this. So this is 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to return everything. So returning asterisk. And then what next? Oh yeah, now we need to do a response.json. So response status of a tool1.json. Oops. .json result.rows 0. Okay, so now hopefully there are no errors with this. I really hope there's not. Oh, I put a comma there. Period. App.posts. Okay, great. So nothing exploded. That is obviously that is very good. So now let's go to here. We created our API endpoints, but now another thing that you're going to learn in the production support is how to actually test these things. So now you have to test these with Postman. So there's multiple testing tools. I really like using Postman. That's usually just the way most people go about it. So I'm going to do Postman. I already had this installed. Super easy to install. It's really not that big of a deal. Yep, don't really care. Let's start a new one. Oh, okay, I forgot because I don't have an account. Okay, so looking at this, we can actually see that server running on port 3000. So that's where our APIs need to be made. So that's why I have this written down here. I'm going to copy the URL to show all the posts. So now we're going to go into here. Yep, get posts. Perfect. So now you can see these are all the posts. Then let's just run the next one. Let's get, I guess before we move on, let's look at this. Is this what we want to see when we go to the post page? So imagine we've got a website that shows all the posts. We have the title of the post, the content, and we have the username. Yeah, that's good. Later on, if we make this into, like, let's say like YouTube, we want to add like a bunch of these. You know, for example, an image, like a thumbnail, a URL of the video, stuff like that. So now, let's get the content of posts where the ID of the post is 1. So looking at this, we should see Alice's post about her first post. Send. Perfect. So now we got Alice's post talking about her first post, and we got all the comments in here. So now let's go back to here. Okay, and now we're gonna actually publish a post. So let's go to API/posts. So now we need to change this to post. And then, let me see. Okay, so good. Because we didn't do anything, it was a 500 error because we didn't actually add anything. So now we actually have to add a body to this. Let's see. Okay, so this, yeah, okay, I remember how to do this now. So we're going to add the body to the post in here, which if you were actually doing this on a website, you would have like a form, and then you would concatenate the form into a string, and then you would pass into a JSON object. But, you know, we didn't do that, so I'm just going to have to manually type this all out. So we're going to create a post where the user ID is 1. So we know this is from Alice. So user ID is 1. The title is going to be created via API, and then the content, however I misspelled it, or let's actually see, wait, how was this made? So yeah, we're inserting into posts. So yeah, let's make sure that we got the typo in there. This post was created through our Express API. Okay. Okay, so we're still getting an error. So let's see what the what's the error. Oh, well, that's definitely the issue. The content type is text/plain, but that's not what we're sending over. We're sending over a JSON. Yeah. How do I change it? I don't even know how. I've never had this happen. So our body is, yep, it's just raw. That's what we're sending over. Or, no, we should select JSON. Okay. So, still failing, but better than last time. Let's make sure that, you know, we are inserting the right thing. Oh, it was another typo. Forgot to add the secondary end. Oh. Whoops. Okay. So now it actually works. Thank God. That took way way too long than I otherwise wished for. But that's okay. That's just how you have to debug. So now we can actually run the GET request for that specific thing. So let's do GET API/posts, and then let's do 5 since that's the ID. Perfect. Okay. So now, you know, looking at all of this, we configured everything really. We created 2 GET requests that go into our database, grab what we need. We then created a post request to make the posts, and then now we really all need to make is a post request for comments. But that's really all enough to get started. If you're watching this at home, this is really all that you need. And going forward from here, that's really all. Everything else is just rinse and repeat. And if you ever need to look back at this, just rewatch it, and everything should be pretty straightforward from there.